What's up, everybody? It's Jared with Capture the Magic, and Epic Universe is barely even 2 months old, and this brand new theme park is already getting some sort of expansion. And we know this from Universal themselves, who filed permits for this just a couple of months ago. But in more aerial photography views from BioReconstruct, there have been some sightings of some things showing up, not in the area where we know that there is currently going to have some sort of expansion area, likely for Celestial Park, which has led to lots of questions about what is coming to Epic Universe. So in this video, we're going to go through what we do know about what is coming to Epic Universe from Universal themselves, and then we're going to take a look at some of these new things that have popped up at Epic Universe. It looks like some sort of construction elements, and perhaps if this has anything to do with what Universal has already announced, or if this could be potentially something else that they are working on that they haven't mentioned yet. So we're going to dive into all of this and talk about it all. So what we do know from Universal is they do have a couple of permits out here called Project 915. You see this one right here. This is kind of for site preparation. And then there's another one also tied to Project 915 for vertical construction. And we do know the permits expired December 5th of this year. So unless these permits get extended, which they could, it seems like at this point, whatever is going to be built here is going to be done in a very short amount of time here, as this would, point to something of a entertainment venue, just something here to help absorb crowds more, help relieve some of the wait times on these rides, which I think is something this park will benefit from. But this area that we know of, this Project 915 area, right here in this area between Super Nintendo World and the main entrance, you have this plot of land right here that's been recently prepped a bit. According to rumors, it's more than likely going to be some sort of entertainment venue. Like, it's not going to be a new ride or new land off of this, but something likely for people to do to help relieve some of these wait times. Because one of the issues with Epic Universe is, first off, it's a great park. Been there numerous times. Love that park, but it does have high wait times. As we can see here, the wait time chart here is just continuing to rise. In many days, the average wait time is 70 minutes plus. The highest one here we had was on July 16th and was 85 minutes. So the wait times are an issue in this park, as this park is not even at full capacity yet. I think Universal wants this park anywhere between 40 to 50,000 guests per day. And I do know from some people I've talked to at Universal that there is a current cap on the daily attendance of this park, around 22,000 guests. But that's basically half of what Universal wants in this park. But obviously, looking at the wait times here, you can't put 40,000 plus people in this park. Given the wait times here would become even worse. So as this park is going to continue to work through its issues, the rides become more reliable, which they are, you still have this issue of wait times. And a lot of people have, looked at this, and I've pointed this as well, as saying that this is one reason, I think very likely, that we'll see more announcements about expansions coming to Epic Universe sooner rather than later, just because these rides can become more efficient. They don't break down as much. They can get more people through them per hour. But if you're already looking at these wait times here with 20,000-ish guests or less in the park, you can do the math here. You can improve these a bit, but I think you're still going to be looking at wait time issues here. And obviously, people don't like waiting in long lines. So this is an issue with this park that I think Universal is going to try and rectify and get this park at full capacity, be able to have it flow very well, and obviously make a lot of money from it. I think that's the end goal here. But BioReconstruct did notice on a recent flyby photography tour that he took is this area. And this is an aerial overview of construction staging in an Epic Universe expansion pad behind Stardust Racers. And you'll see here, there's a bunch of construction elements that here, green ones at that. And so that leads us to this article from Blog Mickey that's kind of going into speculation of what this could be, and if perhaps this is tied to the current permits out there, or if this could be something else. It says, whispers and rumors and construction, oh my. With Universal executives continuing to tease expansion plans for Epic Universe, we may have our first indication that work is imminent. And we do know from Universal themselves numerous times in different articles, and even in commercials themselves, they're talking about they have expansion plans already in place for Epic Universe. And this one here from a recent article in the Hollywood Reporter talking about Universal versus Disney. They have a quote in here from Mark Woodbury himself, where he says, what you can't see sitting here are all the expansion areas that are outside the spaces that you can see, Woodbury said. This is the first step in an epic future. There's a lot of room for expansion, and we're already thinking about how that plays out. So Universal has not been shy about the fact that they are going to expand Epic Universe. It really just comes down to when do they plan to do this. Friend of the site, BioReconstruct, recently took a flight over Epic Universe to check in on the 2-month-old theme park and spotted some construction staging backstage. It says we'll take a look at what he found and what it could mean for Universal's newest theme park. And they ask the question, is a Wicked expansion coming to Epic Universe? Which is a valid question because Mark Woodbury himself has stated numerous times in different interviews as well that Wicked makes a lot of sense for theme parks. And so obviously look at the green there. That could be Wicked, maybe. It says recent activity suggests that there are some construction plans brewing for Epic Universe and the future looks to be very green. As you can see in the photo above and photos below, there are some metal supports all painted green staged in a 20-plus acre expansion plot behind the Stardust Racers roller coaster at Epic Universe. This is relatively new activity, and it's interesting for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, Universal execs have expressed an appetite for expansion. Of course, you typically measure theme park expansion plans in decades and not years, but expansion plans for Epic Universe have been in the works for some time now. Yes, typically you are talking a long time. You're talking about expanding a theme park, but given how aggressive Universal has been, and in my opinion, I've been saying for a long time, I think they're going to continue to become even more aggressive, especially this next decade. So this is why I've contended for a long time that I think you will see expansion plots announced for Epic Universe sooner than many people anticipate. And again, you point to the wait time issues. Like, it all makes sense as to why they would want to do this, as this is the flagship park for Universal Studios. And if you already know that you have an issue with wait times here, it makes a lot of sense you would already be working on ways to relieve that in the short amount of time to this park within 5 years or so. In Universal's perspective, they want Epic Universe to be knocking on the doorsteps of like Magic Kingdom, Epcot, those parks. So that make a lot of sense that they would already be looking at this. So there's another interesting element at play here is whether construction materials are staged. This expansion plot is massive, but I didn't think that it was in play right now. According to documents filed with the county, Universal is planning some new construction between Celestial Park shops and Super Nintendo World, but that's clear across the park from this site. And I think that's what's interesting is this site right here is nowhere near where the permits have been filed for what they want to do. Now, it doesn't mean that it's not had anything to do with it. They could be staging these things here, but it's clear across the park. And I really don't think you would stage these here and then haul them all the way across the other side. I would assume you would stage those in the area where you're going to do construction. A closer look at the materials appears to show green metal support columns and walls with the Universal Orlando Resort skyline graphic. If we're comfortable reading way too much into this, and we are, this color green is not the green that is common in Celestial Park. In fact, this shade of green isn't widely present really anywhere in Epic Universe that I can recall. I would say that this green is more closely resembling the green found over at Wicked, the Experience in Universal Studios Florida. Because yes, you can see where this is going. We're going to lean into the February 2025 report from the New York Times, saying that Universal is working on something for the Wicked franchise for its theme parks. Mark Woodbury, chairman and chief executive officer of Universal Destinations and Experiences, said that the first time he saw Wicked, he immediately thought of the theme parks. When you're talking Universal theme parks, you can't go any higher than Woodbury, so his interest in turning Wicked into a theme park experience is very noteworthy, especially given this recent activity. It says, before we start too far down the yellow brick road, some caution. While these do appear to be a robust construction wall, it could be for literally anything. Universal Orlando Resort has not announced any plans for what specifically will be the first expansion at the theme park. If this is for Wicked themed construction, we're still a long ways away from any confirmation that it will become its own dedicated portal or land. It says hopefully Universal Orlando Resort announces some plans soon, but knowing them, they'll lean into speculation a bit before announcing anything. It says for now, pay no attention to the construction behind the walls. That is Universal's MO. They typically will, it's the same thing with Rip Ride Rocket. They announced that that is going away for something else. They've actually started construction on it. There's actually a lot of construction going on around the ride as it's not closing until later in August, but they've already started on whatever's replacing it, but they haven't announced what is replacing it. And there's a lot of speculation out there that it could be Ghostbusters, it could be Fast and the Furious. And I think Universal likes leaning into that speculation. I think that is something that the fan base has enjoyed doing, is talking about what could be coming. It kind of creates a little bit of excitement, you know, kind of like how you back in the day with a movie, like what's coming next sort of thing. I think they definitely lean into that a lot more than, say, Disney does. So the real question looking at this is, could it be Wicked? I mean, again, Woodbury has talked about it numerous times. Now, looking at the elements here, like I said, I just don't think it would be for this permit area that they've already talked about there's going to be an expansion for, just given its location. So then really what this would come down to is, are they already planning a new portal And is this the first element showing up? It's possible. But from what I have heard, and again, this is just what I've heard from some team members, is that the first expansion is going to be for Super Nintendo World. And it's very likely that what they do next would not be a brand new portal, would probably be some sort of expansion off of an existing land. I think it would make a lot of sense to double down into things that are already popular. And the other area people have talked about expansions for Epic Universe is, and we had a video talking about this, is that new water ride system. And the big rumor there is this new water ride system, which we had a video talking about this. If you want to check out that, it is from Mac Rides. It's currently in Future Scope in France, but is a new water ride system that essentially is a water, like a boat ride mixed with a roller coaster. It never leaves the tracks. And a lot of people have pointed to the fact that it would make a lot of sense for the creature from the Black Lagoon. And you do hear, I mean, even BioReconstruct even mentions here, aerial look at the expansion pad behind Dark Universe. Obviously, you have Dark Universe right here. This is the expansion area for that. And he says, interesting fence line at the bottom center, which is this fencing that has sort of popped up right here. So I think if you were going to expand anything for new attractions of actual rides, it would likely be Super Nintendo World, or it would likely be Creature from the Black Lagoon, potentially, as Dark Universe is the smallest land in the entire park. So if they wanted to expand that, and that one is very popular, it would make a lot of sense to do that first. So just from the standpoint of, I think they would go with expansions on the lands first before they would go into a brand new portal. I think that is, at least to me, that makes a lot of sense that you would do that. And more than likely, I mean, if you were going to do a new portal land here, you would see this land being developed, I think, before a lot of these elements would show up. Just looking at construction over the years of Epic Universe, I think this would be something you would see show up after the fact and not before this land is even developed. So I think that's one thing that points to this, is this land currently is basically how it was when the construction was finished, and these elements wouldn't show up here for a ride or an attraction or something along those lines, or even decoration, until you had this land like leveled, building on it, something going in here. So more than likely, this is for something else, maybe another sort of entertainment venue they're going to do, something else to help with crowds here. I don't think this points to Wicked necessarily. I get it because it's green. It's a different green than what you see in Celestial Park, but just given these just randomly showing up here in this land, I don't think it points to Wicked coming. But obviously it's for something, and the way Universal works is we just don't know what that's for. Even during the Epic Universe construction progress, and you can look back at those videos whenever the Wizarding World of Harry Potter Ministry of Magic wasn't officially confirmed yet from Universal. Obviously, everyone assumed and knew what it was going to be. You had a giant hand holding a wand at the portal there. Really wasn't much left to the imagination, but Universal didn't come out until a little bit after that before they officially said what it was. So Universal tends to wait, well into the construction process before they actually announce, what something is that's coming. They'll even start construction on it. I mean, again, look at Rip Ride Rocket. I don't know when they will announce what is replacing that. I would not be surprised if we don't actually hear officially what that is until maybe toward the end of the year. I'd be kind of surprised they announced it right when Rip Ride Rocket closes what's coming in there. But again, they've already started construction there. We know it's going away, and there hasn't been any confirmation from Universal officially about what is replacing it. So the real answer here is I don't know what this is for. I just don't think it's for a portal. I don't think it's for the current expansion, permits that they currently have. And so it's just a mystery. It's not enough stuff here for a ride. It seems like it could be fencing. It could be really anything. This showing up here is kind of exciting. It's very reminiscent of the construction days of Epic Universe, of looking at it, trying to figure out what something was going to be. And the only way we'll really know perhaps is, BioReconstruct, I'm sure, will do more flybys of this to see what else is happening here, maybe where these elements end up. But I think undoubtedly Universal is signaling that things are coming to Epic Universe, and I think people will be kind of shocked at how quickly some of these things will come to this park. And I think Universal is going to set a very strong tone in the next decade of how aggressive they're going to be in expanding not only Universal Studios itself, but also just Epic Universe, even though it is not only, barely, it's 2 months old at this point. So I think a lot of people just assume that nothing big would be coming here, but I do think that there will be some major additions coming in the near future here. But at this point, I'm not going to sit here and say that I think it's going to be Wicked. I get the speculation. I get the color. I get all the reasons as to why people would think it. But I think if you understand theme park construction, a little too early for, to jump to that conclusion. And also just looking again at the land being undeveloped at this point, as to do anything with this, they would have to file permits to start any construction here. They haven't done that yet in this area. The only permits out there are for that Project 915. So the only thing that would make any logical sense is that it would be tied to that currently until there is more permits that, come out from Universal stating otherwise. But I suppose this is just a mystery at this point, is what this is, what it's going to be used for. So we will have to wait and see on future updates from BioReconstruct, maybe what this is for, and maybe if Universal has any permit filings out there that could point to this outside of the ones that have already been filed. So that is the current status of this. That's all I know about it. But when I do learn more about it, I will talk about it on here and let you guys know about it. But for now, that is going to be it, though, for this video. So if you like this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel, as we do all its coverage here of Universal Studios, Epic Universe, Disney World, and pop culture. And let us know in the comments, what do you think these new construction elements showing up at Epic Universe are going to be used for? And until next time, we will see you in the parks.